Hi guys, thank you for supporting Keep Inspired Curated Art Kits. Today we are going to show you a video tutorial done by Julius for his artwork called Buddies. Before we begin, please make sure that you have all your materials, which comes complete in the kit that you have purchased. Your paints, your brushes, your palette, and of course the canvas/greeting card. And aside from these, please prepare a container of water for dipping your brushes, a scratch paper where you can swatch the paint, and some napkins for cleaning and drying. So, let's begin. So let's begin by combining the violet and the brown. And as you can see, Julius is mixing in more water than usual. So this will be for the initial layer of the fur of the dog. This time, let's use the pointed brush. So you'll notice that we'll be using a lot of water here, and it's kind of like a watercolor painting. Let's be careful when painting in the details of this artwork, since we won't be using a background color for this one. Notice how he's doing the strokes. They're just small outward strokes to mimic the direction of the fur of the dog. So let's proceed with painting in the nose and of course the body. And you'll notice how watery the paint is. It's because it's going to be easier to blend it that way. So if you run out of that brown mixture, you can just recreate it again by mixing in the violet and the brown. And now that we're done with the first layer, we can just let it dry. So this time, it's time to mix a darker shade. So we will be blending in some of the blue and the brown into the current mixture that we have. And we will be painting in the darker areas or patches of fur on the dog. Okay, so just lightly dab onto those areas so that the strands of the fur can be seen as a detail on the painting. Okay, so from the ears, we move now to the body. And don't be afraid to spread out that brush so that the strands can be seen and it reflects the details of the fur of the dog. So again, this is a blue shade with a bit of brown and of course a lot of water. So again, we just like to remind you to be careful, especially when you're working around the edges. Since this artwork has no background, we have to be careful in maintaining the cleanliness of the background. And now we move to the tail. So we just use the same technique, just using light strokes but making it appear to have strands of hair. So let's wait a bit for that section to dry. And now it's time to paint on lighter strands of fur for the dog. So you'll be mixing a grayish tone. So with the existing paint that we have, we'll add some white and a bit of blue. And this time you'll notice that it's kind of a dry mixture compared to the previous ones. So we use a dry brush to achieve that fur effect. So notice how Julius uses small light strokes here, and he's trying to mimic how the fur of the dog behaves. So after working on the back of the neck and the top of the head, we can move down towards the middle part of the body and use the same gray shade that we just mixed. Move towards the tail where those details are needed, and of course also on the ears. So now let's rinse our brush and let's create a lighter shade of that gray by adding some white. So with this new mix that we've created, we dab that onto the dog again to create the highlights, giving the illusion of white fur. And now with pure white paint, let's add in some more details onto the dog to make it more realistic. Okay, so now let's rinse our brushes and it's time to move on to painting the cat. So for the cat, we'll grab some of that orange, some of that brown, and mix it with a lot of water. So with this new mixture, let's just go ahead and paint inside the sketch of the cat and fill it with the orange paint that we've just created. So be careful with the edges. Let's not bleed through the background because again, this artwork has no background color. So once this has dried completely, let's mix in a darker shade of orange by adding in more brown. So notice that this mix has not much water, so we'll be using a dry brush technique again to fill in the details of the cat. So go ahead and paint the ears, the wrinkles at the back of the neck, the shadow on the shoulders, the shadow on the back, and just use light strokes that mimic fur. So it's now time to rinse our brush again, and let's create a brighter orange that will be used as highlights for the cat. So still with the dry brush technique, let's go in and paint the details or the highlights on the cat. So let's move down from the ears to the shoulders and to the back. So let's create an even lighter tone by adding some white and yellow to our existing orange mixture, and this will help create more realistic highlights on the cat. And now for the finishing touches on the cat, let's add some more white to our current mixture and use that to add more highlight. And now for the final detail of the painting, where the pets or the buddies are sitting, let's create a brown shade using, of course, the brown, the violet, and the orange. And let's add in a lot of water. Let's go ahead and paint that horizontally, just right below the buddies. Okay, so while that portion is still wet, let's grab our pointed brush and mix in a darker brown, your current paint mix. So we will just do light strokes horizontally to mimic a wood pattern. So now let's work on their ground shadow by mixing in the blue and the brown. So with that, let's carefully outline the sketches to create that ground shadow that we're looking for. Alright, so we're done with this painting called Buddies. And of course, we'd like to thank everyone who joined us today for this video tutorial. And don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. It's at keepinspired.artkits. And if you happen to upload your works, we'd love to see them. Please tag us. Again, thank you and keep inspired.